So settling into the chest opener, again, with either blocks or blankets. And making sure that it feels like a comfortable opening, nothing too intense. You can take your feet wide and let the knees lean in against one another. Or you could straighten out your legs on the floor if that feels better to you. Good. Now, as you settle down here, just feeling your body against the floor and against your props. And could you invite in a sense of softness and openness? So, approaching our practice with a sense of curiosity and just being open to whatever you might discover from within your body. So, kind of this inner knowing is what we're trying to cultivate here. We were talking about just kind of a theme before we started. It was just, we get often told things by various doctors or experts, and some of course, much of this information is very valuable. And sometimes it can actually hinder our progress. So I encourage everybody, as you move through the world and your day-to-day life, and as you see doctors and various therapists, just to take the information in and notice if it is helpful for you or not, if it's resourceful for you. So letting that go now, just the thinking about it and tuning internally, tuning in internally. And you could begin by just feeling into your body, feeling into your breath. If you're feeling tight in your jaw, trying to soften your jaw and your tongue. You can also try letting go of anything that might be going on in your mind right now. And you don't have to push it away, just kind of letting it fall into the background a bit. And then on your next inhale, can you make that inhale perhaps a little bit wider? And then making your exhale maybe a little bit longer, a little bit smoother, a little bit softer. Good, and let's do 2 more breaths in this position. And then when you're ready to come out, and you can always stay here longer, of course, if you're on the blocks, you probably want to just bend the knees, and then you can use your arms, tuck your chin, and lift off the blocks. And if you're on the blanket like me, you could probably just roll to your side. and move off the the blanket. And let's scoot our stuff out of the way and lie back down. You can use some head and neck support if you'd like. Good. And let's just begin here on our backs by inhaling and rocking the pelvis a little bit forward if it feels okay on the low back, and exhale, pressing the low back down toward the floor. And again. Those are some pelvic rocks here. Noticing if your head is moving, you can allow it to move with the movement of your pelvis. Good, and now can you find a middle space kind of between the two positions? So neutral pelvis, and taking a couple of umbrella breaths here. You can always use your hands on your lower ribs as you inhale, feeling the rib cage expand three-dimensionally. And then a long exhale. And again. And when you do that long exhale, you could use pursed lips if you want, or your ujjayi breathing. The purpose here is to get every last bit of air out. And then the next inhale, you might feel even a bigger opening through the ribs. Good, now on your next exhale, let's bring the right knee in and catch it with your hands. You can straighten out the left leg on the floor if you'd like. I'm going to use the right hand to continue to breathe as we just make circles with the knee. And then circle in the opposite direction. Good. And then coming back to the center, we'll hold the knee with the left hand and extend the right arm out to the side. And now on your inhale, let's bring the knee across the body, whatever amount feels okay in your low back and your pelvis. And then as you exhale, just slowly roll back to the center, letting your breath lead the way. Okay, and repeat. So we're talking also just about this area around the sacrum, the SI joint, where the sacrum, you have two of them, where they're two joints where they're linking up. The sacrum is linking up with both sides of the pelvis. And sometimes when it goes out, when your pelvis is out slightly, an issue around this area, one side of twisting will feel better than the other. And so if you're having this issue, or even if you're not, you could just notice that, right? And really listen to your body. Know how deeply do you want to come into this twist, if at all. And if you want to hold the twist now, you could try that too. And you could just let your right foot rest on the other leg so the ankle is relaxed. And breathing in, feeling the breath expand both sides of your ribs. And again, a long exhale. And then let's just exhale as you roll back to the center with the knee. And let's hold that leg in tight again. Now you might want to bend the left knee and place the left foot on the floor. We're going to inhale as we hold behind the leg and stretch the leg up and press the thigh bone away. So press the thigh bone into the hands. And then you can bend and straighten, or you could leave the leg up there if it's ready for it, okay? Good. Now, when and if you're ready, you can leave that leg straight or straight-ish. And let's focus on this pressing the leg away into the hands, almost like you're trying to break through your fingertips. And if you need to use a strap behind the leg, you can do that too. And think about if you picture the two sides of your pelvis, we've got the right leg up. So your right hip might be moving closer to the right shoulder and the right side of the ribs. Could you instead move the right hip down toward the end of your mat so that it's even with your other side? Good. A couple more breaths. Good. And then exhale. Let's bring the knee to bent. Bring it to the floor, and you can straighten out both legs. Good. So a lot of times, and just notice, and I was just reading an article about this recently too, just about SI joint pain. Often we try to just keep stretching and stretching and stretching. And that doesn't always get at the issue, or maybe not get at the issue at all. But a lot of different movements can help, like getting things into place, moving things around. So that's why you'll notice that a lot of the movements we do in here will be dynamic. A lot of the poses, they'll be in movement. We don't necessarily always hold things for a long time. All right, let's now bring the left knee in towards your belly. Give it a squeeze. Just notice how that feels. So sometimes I even play around with just one knee in like this. And then I can tell which side with the knee in feels better, right? So I might really, and I'll show you how to do that. So you can really reach through the right heel and draw and hike up that left hip. Like bring it in closer. Does that feel good? Does it feel good to stretch through there? Or does it feel better to kind of even the two hips out? And it might feel better to have the right knee in, right? So this noticing which side needs it a little more. And now let's use the left hand and just mobilize the hips. So we're just moving the knee around in a circle while breathing. And then circle in the other direction. Good. And then coming into the center, we'll hold the knee with the right hand, extend the left arm to the side. And same thing, as we inhale, we'll start to come into the twist a little or a lot. And as you exhale, roll back out using your own pacing, your own depth, like how far feels good. And you might notice like, the other side didn't feel so good as a twist and this one does, or vice versa, right? And then if you'd like to, you could hold the twist. You can let the ankle relax, bring the knee across, let's just let the foot rest on the other leg. And sometimes here, I work with the pelvis and the SI joint stuff here as well. And you've got to, again, go gently and carefully. And I might just feel like I'm rolling my left hip, my outer left hip away from my head and move it down away. So it's making the left side waist a little longer. And sometimes that feels good and sometimes it doesn't, okay? So it depends on what your body needs. And then when you're ready, let's exhale, come back to the center. We're gonna hold behind the leg, so you might wanna bend the right leg too, you can decide. And then inhale, stretch it up. And exhale, bend and repeat. Now you can always just go right into holding it upwards too. And now you can hold that leg up if you're able to, and using your leg, press it into your hands or a strap. And then if you want to, your right leg can be straight or bent, okay? And the same thing we did on the other side. So because you're holding the left leg and bringing it in, you might find that the left hip is hiked up a little higher. How does it feel to move the left hip away from your left shoulder and evening it out side to side? Following your breath in and following it out. Good, and then exhale, bending the knee, foot to the floor, straightening out your legs on the floor and noticing. Good. And now let's inhale, bend the knees one at a time. And just separate the feet a little bit and spread the arms and slowly windshield wiper. And the same thing is true for here. So we're working, windshield wipers are involving the whole lower body for sure. But it's really involving the pelvis a lot, right? So one side might feel better than the other side. Really pay attention and notice this. Make it smaller or bigger according to what you need in this moment. Good, now coming back up through the center, we're going to take away anything big from behind the head and have your block handy, a low block. And if you don't have a block, what you'll do is you'll want something really firm, like 1 or 2 towels or a yoga blanket like this, to be able to roll up so it's quite firm and high, okay? I actually like to roll it the thickest way I can if I'm doing this. So sometimes it takes 2 towels, okay? And then we're gonna come into supported bridge pose. Now, if you've got low back pain and coming into bridge is too much for it today, you can do knees to chest instead, make circles on your low back, anything else that feels right to you, okay? You can just try to test it out gently and see, okay? So what we'll do is we'll inhale, press into the feet, engage the glutes, and try to lift the hips just high enough off the floor to slide your block underneath your sacrum. So it's basically like underneath your butt. Same thing if you're using your folded up blanket. If you're using a rolled up blanket or towels, you might need to put it lower down on your butt for this to work. Okay, just because it rolls, okay? So you just put it further towards your feet and under the butt. Okay. And now, can you allow your belly to relax? So that when you inhale, you can even let the belly rise. So instead of focusing so much on the umbrella breath now, focus a little bit here on your belly breath. So as you inhale, the belly rises. And as you exhale, lengthening. Good. Now, if you're on the block, and just sort of wiggle the hips and knees back and forth like you're massaging around your sacrum. You can do this on the rolled up blanket as well. And I want to encourage you guys to get blocks because they're pretty cheap and you can find them anywhere from Walmart, sometimes CVS, TJ Maxx, and certainly online. You can do the same massaging on your rolled up blanket. And then coming back to the center, if you're still rocking, How does it feel to just straighten out your right leg on the floor? So still on your blanket or your block, but just your right leg straight. Just imagine here that you could breathe all the way down to the front of your right hip. And in fact, even though of course we don't have lungs there, when I breathe in and I'm getting a really full breath, my belly expands all the way down to the front of my right hip. And if you have any pain around your sacrum when you're doing this, I want you to come back to both knees bent. Okay, it just might not be the right thing for you right now. So you just keep both knees bent or even bring your hips back down to the floor. Okay, 2 more big deep breaths all the way down to the front of the right hip. Good. And then as you're ready, slowly bringing that knee back in or the leg back in, and you can try the other side. Again, same thing holds true. One side might feel good, the other might not. Both might feel good or neither, okay? So really listen to your own body. Breathing all the way down to the front of the left hip. And then as you're ready, gently bringing that leg back to bent. Inhale, if you can lift off of the block and pause as you exhale, engage the glutes and slide the block out of the way. Keep breathing, inhale. And then as you exhale, you can try to lay your spine down 1 vertebra at a time, if that feels okay in the back. And then gently bring one knee and then the other in towards your belly. You can make circles on your low back, or you can rock side to side. And circle the other way. And then just slowly bring your feet down to the floor. Good. One more thing on our backs here. We're going to straighten out the right leg on the floor while keeping the left leg bent. And then imagine that you've got like pants with pockets on the butt, like jeans or something. I'm going to press into the left foot and lift the left hip pocket, back pocket away from the floor. So it's like you're just turning your belly to the right slightly and then bringing it back down. And repeat. Again, this is working this area of the pelvis. You just want to go gently and notice how this feels. Notice if you have any tightness or pain. It feels good. And then you can start to push a little bit further. So you might press into the foot and lift the heel, the left heel off the floor. So the ball of the foot's down and your belly starts to turn more to face the right, and then slowly let it back down and repeat. Good. And you might even roll over onto the side as you do this. So you keep the left foot on the floor as you do it. The heel comes up. I bring my left arm across. I'm going to roll over onto the right and then slowly let myself come back down. And repeat a couple times. Good. And then come back to center. Bend both knees. Notice. And then let's straighten out the left leg. And we'll start with the small motion. So as letting your breath flow, press into the right foot, lifting your right jean pocket away from the floor and then letting it come back down. And then you can start to go a little bit further, maybe pressing into the foot and then continuing to lift the right heel. Belly turns to the left slightly and then slowly lowering. And then even a little further, you could bring the right arm across. Start to roll onto that left side and back. Good. And now coming back to the center, bending both knees and noticing. And allowing yourself to roll to either side and just press yourself up. And we're going to have a seat on the floor where you can always sit in a chair. And you're going to want maybe your sock for this. So if you're not wearing socks, you could grab one or you could use your fingers too. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit up on my blanket. Your legs can be however you want. We're going to work with the right foot. Okay. So I'm going to take, this is just a more gentle way to do this than using the fingers and weaving the fingers in. You're welcome to weave the fingers in if you prefer. Okay. I'm going to take my sock and I'm going to weave it between big toe and second toe, then the next. Now, if you got really thin socks, it's not going to do much, right? Until I get between all the toes. Yeah. Good. Now, it might be hard, it might be easy, it just depends on your foot. So the other option, and you guys have done this with me before, is to take the opposite hand. So the left hand could also come and you could squeeze your fingers down between. I just know some people have a lot of trouble getting their hand down there, but it's a worthwhile endeavor. So this is a really good thing for bunions, okay? It's separating the feet out, boom, just widening the feet. And what happens is that over time in shoes, most shoes have too narrow of a toe box, and our toes get squished together. So that combined with, however we might walk with weaker arches and going in toward the inside of our foot exacerbates the bunions. So this starts to open things up. So you can just mobilize the foot with your hand, okay? And those of you using the sock, you can do this too. So you've got the sock in between, and they make these awesome knit. They're kind of like leg warmer things, and then they come down, and instead of having toes or your toes covered, they just have little knit things like sock material going between each toe. And they're awesome, and they're meant to spread out your toes passively. Right? So you can do this with the sock there. It's just a little different. You just massage the rest of your foot. Just gonna massage it, do what you can, mobilize bones, move things around in here. So they make these knit things, and if I can remember, I'm gonna write it down. I'll send you the name of a company that does it. And they also make silicone ones. They make silicone ones that go in between, and they're not as friendly, but they're great, okay? And they work. They're called spacers, and they start to separate the toes, and you have to work up to using them longer. Okay. And let's take them out. If you've got your fingers in there, if you're one of the people with fingers in there, you can spread your fingers out and try to widen the toe box, widen that toe area, the forefoot. Good. And then let go. Okay. Just move the foot around, Scrunch and spread the toes. And then we'll do the other foot. Okay. And like I said, you can do this seated in a chair. Some people can't reach their foot like that, right? So you might benefit, especially if it's hard to reach or if the mobility is limited, and getting some of these things that will help, okay? You can do it on ball, like you could put your foot on a ball and open the toes over them. There's so many things we can do with this kind of work. I've got a whole bunch of them. We can start doing some new ones. We just need to have, guys need to have a ball for it, okay? So either weaving your sock in between your toes or using your right hand palm faces sole of foot and getting fingers down and in there. Keep breathing. I know this can be really tough on people. Okay, so keep breathing, relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, mobilize the foot. You can use your hand. I've got my fingers between my toes, so I'm just kind of moving it back and forth. If I was weaving, I would just use my hands and massage the bottom of my foot. Mobilize the forefoot, move it back and forth. Good, and then when you're ready, you can take it out, take your hand out. I forgot the part about spreading your fingers, so if you haven't done that yet, you can do that. Just scrunch and spread the foot a little bit. And rest. Take the legs out in front. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. See if you can straighten your legs on the floor. Inhale, pull the toes back towards your shins, and exhale, point them forward, and repeat. So we were talking about earlier just, there's certainly bony structures and differences in people's feet. There's all sorts of feet things that happen that we're born with genetically. And we can also do a lot to strengthen our foot and change the habits of how we stand and walk and our shoe wear that can have a really good influence on them, right? And sometimes if we've been doing something one way for 60 years, 50 years, it's not like it's going to change overnight either. And some stuff might not be able to change fully, but we just do what we can, right? We just do what we can with what we have. And we can't change our bones. That's true. But the arches, and we're going to work on that too, arches, people say, I have flat feet. People are not born with flat feet. That is not a bone thing. That is a muscular thing. We can work with that too. Okay, after some more of these ankle mobilizations here, just do a couple of circles, 2 in one direction, 2 in another. Good, and then just shake out your feet. We're going to come up onto our feet, okay? So come up in a way, I know you got some knee injury and stuff going on, so just come up in a way that works for your body. Try to do it consciously. We're going to stand all the way up. Inhale and reach up when you get there. And exhale and bring the arms down. Good, and again. Good, and then just standing on your feet, noticing how your feet are when you stand naturally. Do they tend to go straight forward or do they turn out? That's kind of being aware of that. Can you point them straight forward without pain? And then also, do you tend to collapse down on the inner arches, just boom, down? Or are you on the outer side of your foot more? And can you stand so that you're pressing down ball of big toe, ball of pinky toe, and then center of heel on both feet. Good. And then let's inhale and see if you can lift all your toes off the floor. Good. And then exhale, let them come back down. And repeat. Now you can look at them, can help give your brain feedback. You can also lift the fingers too if you want to. It can help your brain get it. You can also use your hands. You can sit in a chair and use your hands and help them do it, because that starts to build the ability to do it. And if you can look at your arches as you do this, you might notice that when you lift your toes, your arches lift. Maybe just a little bit, but they lift. These are the extrinsic muscles of the foot. So that means they're based outside of the foot. They start outside the foot and they lift the arches. Good. And we'll work another time with a ball, doing some toe exercises that can also be really helpful for bunions and for flat feet and all sorts of foot issues. But today, let's do this, okay, since we don't have all that. Today, let's try to put all 10 toes down on the floor. And then, can you lift just the big toes? Now again, you can lift the thumbs to help, you can look at it to help, and you can also get down there and pull them up if they won't move. And if you pull them up and just make it happen and breathe. Now, if you have bunions, your big toes likely curve in towards your other toes, or even if you're pre-bunion, that can happen, they curve in. So what you can also do as you lift is you can pull the toes out away from the second toe. You can just pull it and make it wider there. And that can be very helpful too. You can do this with bands too and build the strength. Good. And now putting the big toes back down, can you keep the big toes down and lift the other 4 toes on each foot? So big toes down, lift the others. And if you get a cramp in your foot, just go walk around a little bit, get it to come out. Again, you can use your fingers to emphasize. You can use your hands, keep breathing. Good. And now, could you try to spread out your toes? So you've got the 8 toes lifted. Can you take the pinky toes out to the side and then lay it down on the floor? Then the next one, you might not be able to do them one by one, but you're just imagining that you can. Okay, one by one, laying them down, spreading them out on the floor. Good. Good. And now just relax a little bit, scrunch and spread the toes of one foot. It's like you're balling it up into a fist and then spreading it out. Good, and then scrunch and spread the toes of the other foot. Good, nice. And then let's rock on the ankles. If you want to hold the back of your chair, you can. We're going to inhale, lift the heels, and exhale, lower and lift the balls of the feet. Okay, so you could hold a wall. Just if you're holding something, don't lean into it, whether it's at your side or in front of you. So you don't want to be doing this. You're trying to keep everything straight up and down and work the ankles here. Work the ankles and work the calves. Good. A couple more. And the other one that I really emphasize, I know I have you guys do it a lot, is stretching the top of your foot. We're not going to do that right now, but if you have time, you can add that in, okay? Just stretching the top of the foot like this. Okay? Okay, now coming down with your heels, just stand for a moment and notice how your feet feel on the floor. Breathe in and breathe out. Good, let's widen the feet. Arms at your side, side bends. Just exhale, lean. Now you could keep the hands sliding down the leg just as far as feels okay in your own back. I like the feedback that the texture of your clothing gives you. You can also, if you want, add in an arm reaching over. You're going to have to see what feels safe and good in your body. then coming back up to the center. We're going to widen the feet even further. So if you need to turn on your mat, you can do that if you're using one. And we're going to open up. I'll mirror you guys. I'm going to open up. We'll open up our right foot to the side. I'm not mirroring you. I'm doing my right foot too. Okay, so your right foot opens to the side. Your left heel kicks back. Good. And I'm going to bend this knee. But now, okay, be careful with the knee injury, right? So just make sure if you have a knee injury that the amount you're bending the knee does not hurt your knee right now, okay? So really tune in. You can keep your leg straight if you want, okay? If it feels okay, you can bend it. You might even bend it a lot, okay? Can bring the arms up to warrior two pose. I'm having my palms turn up just so I can soften through the shoulders. Good. Now you could come in and out by bending and straightening the leg, or you could keep it bent, okay? Can you try to lift the toes of the front foot just for a moment here and look down at that arch and just see that front arch lift as well. Good. Now exhale. Let's let the arms come down and just straighten the leg for a moment. Good. Now here's a couple of options. Option one is to bend that knee, and you see I'm just slightly leaning here. So I've got my hand on my thigh. You could also put it on the wall, right, for support. Back hand could be on hip or overhead, so like this, okay, thigh or wall. Or say you're wider, say you've got more mobility and no issues with the knee or whatever, you might bring your forearm down to your thigh instead. And see what feels better in your own body right now. Now this top hand could stay on the hip, or it could reach along the ear. You could get really long, all the way from the pinky toe edge of the back foot out your fingertips. It's a side angle pose. If you've got the legs straight, you're in more of a triangle pose, right? And whenever you're ready to come out, going to exhale, look at your front foot, press into the heel as you rise. And we'll just switch sides. Bending your left leg, kicking back your right heel. Warrior two pose. Now, let's try something different on this side. I wish I'd said it on the other side too, but that's okay. Does it feel good to you where your knee is right now? Is it open toward the center of your foot without pain? Or are you rolling in to the inside of the foot? If you're rolling in to the inside of the foot, then what I would do is walk that foot further forward so it's not lined up with your back arch or your back heel. It's further forward than that. And that'll allow you to open up the knee a little further. Good. And then in warrior two, shoulders soft. And then you can bring either hand to thigh. You could take a break for a moment too, okay? But eventually when you rebend, either hand to thigh, you could have hand on back hip, you could put hand on wall or chair. Or you could go a little wider and bring the forearm down, so a little wider between feet. Other arm can stay on hip or reach along ear, and you're breathing. Maybe lift the front toes. You can look down to see if the arch is lifting. 2 more breaths. Good. Now on your exhale, looking down at your front foot and pressing into that front heel using the strength of your leg to come up. And then wiggling the feet closer to one another. And just some swinging and twisting. Noticing how that felt on your back, on your knees. Good. All right, we're going to get our chairs set up on our mats so that the seat of the chair we can use when we're on our backs. okay? So if you have a chair like me with a hole in the back, you'll want the seat facing you so that you can use that hole. And if you have more of a typical dining chair, you're going to turn it sideways so your legs can hang off the side, okay? You can get yourself some head and neck support and just have that available. And then inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hinge and fold, hands to chair. And you can step yourself back and just come into a chair-supported down dog, letting your neck relax. You can bend the knees any amount and stretch away from the chair, getting long through your torso. And what can help here, I find, for the low back, depending on how it feels, is I like to bend one knee, keep the other one, or straighten the other one, and then work that straight leg hip further back. And then switch sides and kind of feel into, is there one side that feels like it needs this? Good. And then from here, you can walk closer to the chair or slowly lower down, however it works for your body. And we'll come into a legs over the chair position. So the idea for this one is for your legs to be at about 90 degrees on the chair. You just can stick your feet through this little hole, or you might need to, if you're on a chair at home with varying surfaces, you may need to put a blanket over the surface. So get whatever you need to feel most comfortable here. Moving your shoulder blades down your back. And of course, if this position does not work for you today, you choose what does. Letting your inner thighs try to relax or inviting softness in whatever position you've chosen. And then taking a few sighs, you can take your arms into a relaxing position for you. And can you allow your jaw to soften and your tongue to soften? Inviting your throat, your face, and your eyes to soften. Inviting that softness to come all the way down into your arms and your hands. Inviting that softness to come down into your chest and belly, your hips, your low back. And inviting that softness to move down into your legs, knees, lower legs, ankles, feet. allowing that softness to move into your mind or inviting it. Behind your eyes. And you might place a hand or two on your body if you want to. Just notice any words that come up for you. Speaking to yourself kindly. It might be words of encouragement, reassurance. And feeling your response, noticing what your response is in your body. And then just taking your time, you can stay here longer, you can start to move, you might wiggle fingers or toes or stretch out.